Today, we are talking about balance and how to prevent burnout and find your joy as a stepmom. Welcome, welcome. I love this guest that I'm bringing to you. She's actually one of our speakers at the Stepmom Summit coming up September 14th through the 18th. You can go to thestepmomsummit.com and grab your spot when tickets become available. The event is free. It is a fantastic few days of hearing from literally the top step family experts in the world about every issue that comes into play in step family life. Today's guest, who is also a speaker at the summit, is Amy Nesbitt. She is a full time working mom who understands well the challenges of balancing a corporate job with family life after spending most of her career at Apple in Silicon Valley. She spent years watching working moms burn out trying to do it all, which I think we are all familiar with. And it took the pandemic for her to finally find her creative outlet. She began creating content to simplify women's lives and encourage women to reconnect with joy in their everyday lives. She's the creator behind the YouTube channels This Japanese American Life, where she shares Japanese recipes, travel, and culture, as well as Amy N's Reads, where she explores the power of books and stories for all ages, which just hits me right in the heart because I am such a bibliophile. Through her channels, Whole Wellness Mama's website, podcast, and summits, she helps moms move beyond survival to create lives that feel more intentional, joyful, and whole, which sounds absolutely delightful. And that is a word I would use to describe her as a guest. So we're going to dive in. Amy, welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So I always like to ask my guests what their stepmom origin story is. You're not a stepmom, but I want to know your origin story because you have a very interesting one. So how did you, what's your background? I
Yeah.
guess number one. And then number two, how did you get into the work that you're doing?
Oh, it's a long story, but I'm going to try to keep it short as possible. So, as long as I can remember, I've been a corporate working mom full time. And it was really in COVID that I decided, hey, during this crazy time when we're working from home and schooling from home, I'm going to start a YouTube channel to focus on the fun things of life versus the sucky things that were happening or the
So,
things that we couldn't do.
I mean, the natural response to COVID was I'm going to start a YouTube channel, right? But no.
Or do all these crazy things that we didn't have time for,
Yeah.
right? But
What made you
that
decide to do that?
it I mean, honestly, it was first called Flashes of Joy because I looked at my kids and we kept talking about we can't do these things outside, or we can't go see grandparents, or we can't see our friends, but we're doing so many fun things. Let's focus on that. Let's just document it, and then the grandparents can see it, or however they can take part in our lives. We were like, let's
Yeah.
just do it.
I
And
love that.
that's how it started. But then as we were going through more of these videos and things, I had a lot of people ask me like, well, what do you do for Japanese recipes? Or I'm going to Japan at some point. Like, can you tell me what I might want to see? And there were these conversations that kept coming up before and after I started the channel. And they were like, why don't you make stuff about that? So I went, okay, my kids are half Japanese. There are things that I wish my parents had taught me or my grandparents had
Yeah.
passed down recipes to me. So I went, let's kind of change this up and see if this can be more of a love letter to my kids, as well as hopefully something helpful to other people that might be interested in Japanese culture, tips of travel or food. So that's what that became. But then that stirred a lot of conversation with my fellow working moms and my friends and, people that I meet elsewhere of how do you do all of these things? You work full time, you're a wife, you're a friend, you're a mom, and then now you have this thing is basically like another business, right? And the thing that I kept coming back to was it feeds my soul.
Mhm.
I do finance things by day, and this was a whole different way of using my brain and unlocking creative juices. And it was fun. And I got to do it with my kids. And we love travel, we love food. So it was just this passion project that became its own thing. And I realized being able to do things for myself in this way and activate different parts of me brought me life to be able to
Yeah.
show up in a better way for everybody around me.
I love that. And it's really similar to like when I got started with all of this, I was also in the corporate world and it really you learn to use different muscles when you're building a business, and especially a business online, and especially when you're, like,
Yes.
talking to people all the time, and that it is such an interesting exercise in finding joy in different places. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and that's why Whole Wellness Mamas came to be because I went, you know what? I'm having these conversations with moms who are just surviving. And I was there too, where I was just doing the
Yeah.
things, getting the work done. But we should be thriving. We should have things that bring us joy too. And that shouldn't be a luxury. So that's where Whole Wellness Mamas came in when I want to talk to moms. I want to encourage moms however I can. And so that's why we get to chat too. And I'm really excited that I said, sure, let's try this other new thing that I
Yeah.
don't have time for.
Totally, I love it, and you talk a lot about curiosity and staying
Mhm.
curious. Like, what does that look like in family life and for parents?
So I'm going to start with so many moms I talk to have a hard time telling me what they do just for them and what makes them smile that isn't related to their kids or other people. And that just kept coming back to me because we were born curious, right? When we look at kids, they ask why about everything and annoying so, annoyingly so sometimes, right? And they jump off of things. They don't have fear. They're willing to try new things. And we lose that as we get older. And especially, I think, as we hit motherhood and all the
Yeah.
responsibilities and the expectations and all the things that we try to live up to. And it's the curiosity for me that has really brought back joy and opened up doors to things that I never thought I would do, 5 years ago, 10 years ago that have brightened my life and people around me in huge ways. And it often comes from just saying, okay, what if I try that thing? Or, well, why do I do it this way? And just asking things of fun things that we already do or things
Mhm.
that perhaps we keep saying later. Maybe I'll do that later when the kids are older, or oh, maybe I'll do that when I, get my promotion, or oh, I'll do that thing, all these things that we say later. And I just heard someone say later is the most expensive word in the dictionary. I was like, oh,
It is.
that's, yeah.
It is, I mean, you think about all the
Mhm.
things I don't know how many conversations I have with girlfriends where I'm like, "Oh, I really wanna go there someday. I really wanna do this someday," and
Yes.
it's always like, "Oh, someday, when I have
Yes.
time, when I can do it," and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, you're so right, like, how can we figure out ways to kind of grab those opportunities and take them now versus always waiting?
Yes, and I think curiosity, we think about it in such a big way of, "Oh, I have to go take this huge trip," or "I have to write this book," or, whatever those huge goals are. But I want people to come away going, they can be these really tiny things that we try, make them experiments, see what you like, see what you don't. They
Yeah.
could be 5-minute things in our days, that just bring us so much closer to the us that we want to be, or the us that we've forgotten perhaps in the course of responsibilities and life, unfortunately.
What's been the most unexpected thing that you have gotten curious about and tried since you started noticing this?
Well, since I have reflected on my life lately. I've just been in a very reflective state, right? You hit your 40s and you kind of start thinking about
Yeah.
those things, right?
Familiar.
And I have realized that every big decision or big thing has been because I went, okay, let's try it or let's see. And one of those things is going into a finance career at Apple. I was in college thinking I did not want to do finance. I was studying business, but finance was one of those things I had ruled off because I hated the course that I took. But I had talked to friends and said corporate finance might be a little different. And then when the Apple job rec came out, I went, okay, it's Apple. Let's go try it. Let's go see. Let's go apply. And then I ended up getting it, and it ended up being one of the great like roles of my life, uh,
Yeah.
and different opportunities. My husband was another like, okay, maybe like there was an attraction, but it took us a little bit to figure out, are you my person? And it took a few iterations of things.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, do I want to go on a date with this guy? Do I want to go on another date with this guy? Okay, let's give it a shot. The YouTube channel, we talked about that. I never would have said I wanted to be
Yeah.
a YouTuber. That was definitely not a thing that I aspired to be.
Yeah.
But now I'm going, this is a really cool thing that I was able to do and bring my kids into and like have that be something that is part of the conversation in our family.
Mhm.
Moving? we never thought we were going to uproot our whole family, 20 years of where I've lived, our community is there. And we said, well, do we want to live in Silicon Valley the rest of our lives and raise our family here? I don't know that we do. Let's go try this other place, which is where I grew up. But, you know, for us to say, yeah, let's see. We could always move back if we wanted to, is what my husband kept saying to me. And I went, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Let's try. And so far, a year and a half in, 2 years in, we're loving it. So yeah, all these things of, okay, let's just try. And some of those are really big things that I
Yeah.
talked about,
Yeah.
right? But it all started with little things that we started and went, okay, okay.
But I love that outlook because I think for the stepmoms that are listening, I mean, I think that so much of our role as stepmoms and becoming stepmoms kind of stems from, okay, well, we've met someone with kids. That's maybe not what I grew up dreaming about, my life looking like. Nobody grows up thinking, I can't wait to be a stepmom, But you meet this person and they seem really great and you're like, "Okay, let's see what happens." And, you end up embarking on this journey that, brings a lot of heartache, a lot of struggle, a lot of, challenges, but also a lot of joy. And so I love kind of taking that approach with your whole life, but also, like, I think taking a look at where you have done that in the past and maybe haven't even realized it at the time, you know?
Yeah. And lately I've been doing like if I come back to these tiny experiment things, right? One of the things I love doing is reading. And I create a YouTube channel for books too because I need a different place to talk about that too. But my whole family loves books, and I wanted to do something intentional with my children, and
Mhm.
so we read one book a month together. That's the goal that I set out for us, and we pick a book, and we just finished one that I absolutely loved, and it just can be one thing, right? We're going to do this one thing, and I said,
Yeah.
"Once a month, we're going to do this. Let's try it for 3 months and see if we like it. If we don't, let's toss it out. It's fine. We can say we tried it and it just wasn't for us, but we've learned something."
I love that, and then do you talk about the book at the end of the month?
Yes.
And, like, so it's like your
Yeah.
little family book club.
And my younger one actually gets scared about different things a lot. And so he likes reading with me. And I think I don't know. I used to read with them a lot and snuggle with them a lot. And they've become tweens. So it happens less and less.
Oh, yeah. I'm familiar
So
with that
yeah.
dynamic.
Yeah. So being able to find these different ways to connect with them have been really special. And it's just one thing, right? We said, we like reading. Do we want to read together? Can we do that? And that was one thing that we tried. Another thing is I've been like calling a friend intentionally on the way home, like on a commute. So maybe
Mhm.
once a week, I just say, okay, this is the person I'm going to call. It could be the same person. Everybody can pick what they want to focus on, right? But I have noticed, okay, I need to be intentional about my time. And on a commute,
Yes.
I can do that, right? I can put that in my calendar and make sure the other person's available too. And that's our time to connect and be intentional about relationships because community is huge and I can't do life without people to support me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love all of that, and I love creating your community. I know that, like, so many stepmoms and I know moms feel like this too, but with stepmoms, the mental load's just different, and I know that so many of them feel like they just totally lose themselves while they're trying
Yeah.
to make the step family work, and the dynamics can be so challenging that they feel like they're prioritizing everybody else but themselves, and stepmoms suffer from more anxiety than and depression than biological moms do. And that just, I think all of that is like the perfect storm. But how can curiosity help stepmoms reconnect with who they were and kind of discover themselves again? Is that, can that help with it?
Absolutely. So when we're in that survival mode, which is like it feels all the time, right? The keeping the peace, keeping the schedules,
Yep.
making sure people aren't resentful, making sure you're not stepping on toes. Exactly like you said, we lose sight of ourselves and our own needs. And if we feel shameful asking for, that time that we need or different things that we need. And curiosity just brings us back to what do I need? What would bring a little cup filling for me, right? Because there are things that we know we loved when we were children,
Mhm.
or like we were talking about earlier, we keep putting things off and it's never our time.
Yeah.
right?
That's the
But
dynamic that stepmoms
yeah.
feel really acutely. I mean, I know my first couple of years, I would hesitate to go get, before I became a stepmom, I would get pedicures all the time. That was like my way of decompressing from work. And I kind of stopped doing it when I became a stepmom because it felt like any time I spent away from the family was bad, that I needed to be with the
Mhm.
family all the time and really like get my role cemented and fit in, all that kind of stuff. And you really do kind of lose yourself. And I don't remember where I was going with that other than, figuring out, like, I guess,
Yeah.
how can we take that first step of being curious and figuring out who we are?
I think it comes like what we were saying earlier of what kind of makes you smile or what do you put off, And if you love cooking, can you or wish you could do a little more cooking for things that you love?
Uh-huh.
Can you pick one recipe that you want to make a week, And when I talk about tiny experiments, it's really picking one thing that you want to do and picking a time frame that you want to do it for, like I was talking about earlier with the reading, and then just measure if you did it or not, because it's not about did you do it well or
Right.
how long did you do it or any of these things, but did you do it? It- And it's like such a different mindset shift once you say, okay, I'm just going to try this thing of, okay, if I really want to get back into cooking, or if I want to get back into reading, or if I want to spend time with a friend, whether that be on the phone or in person,
Yeah.
what can I do? Is it just once a week? I talk to someone once a week I go grab coffee with someone.
Mhm.
And these are huge things for home. These are huge things for, I think, any aspect of our lives, because if you have a career, it also super huge in curiosity for, okay, can I go talk to this one person outside of my group once a week, once a month, whatever it is, whatever that cadence is for people that feels not overwhelming, because I don't want it to feel overwhelming, right? You don't need another overwhelming thing in your life.
Yeah.
But what is that one small thing that you can do and add in that would actually feed you versus feel like it is another draining to-do
Yeah.
list item?
And I love taking it like one small step at a time and not putting so much pressure on success, but kind of
Yes.
saying, okay, just do this, just take one little teeny, even if it's just, reading a page out of your book, like just the one little step that makes it feel a lot more achievable because I think we do tend to kind of should ourselves, like, well,
Yeah.
I told myself I would do this, but I'm just really tired. I don't have time. But like breaking
Yeah.
it down into that small step, I think would be really helpful.
Or going on a walk or, having a cup of tea, like, by yourself outside, once a week. It doesn't have to be huge like we're talking about, right? But if there are things that you want to do, how
Yeah.
can you break that down into a small step that you can start incorporating and seeing if that really is something that you wanna do? Because yeah, another another thing is, like, crocheting. My kid wanted to do crocheting, and so I went, "Oh, man, I have to learn this thing and help him learn," and it ended up being this really fun thing that he more taught me because we got this kit that made it really easy for him to learn, and
Mhm.
then it became this really fun bonding thing, and I actually think it's, like, very comforting for me too. So I just do, like, a little bit, and I have my little, like, characters. It's kinda hard to see, but I have my little, like, book characters up there. So you just
Well,
never know what you're going to discover.
I love that, and that's actually for the stepmoms, that's such a great opportunity for bonding is letting the stepchild take the lead and pick out something to learn together. I love that
I'm a
idea.
huge advocate for, like, one-on-one time things too, because especially in the busy, 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 and
Yeah,
it's so hard to connect, but exactly to what you said, you let them pick and you go do that thing, you put down your devices, anything that can distract,
yeah.
and it is a huge, huge bonding thing, even if
How
it's
does
10 minutes. Yeah.
I know we see this in first families too, but when you have a couple that has very different parenting styles,
Mhm.
how does curiosity play out in that? And how can it help when you end up, having conflict around the parenting styles? Because we definitely see a lot of that in step families.
I think everybody has this tendency to want to be right, right? And then
Absolutely.
there's a defensiveness that comes up when people do it a different way, and you're going, "Wait, no, 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 I think my way is better." And I think it is very much more embedded when you are walking into a family that has done things
Yeah.
a certain way for a while, right? But I think I have had to train myself to think in the, okay, tell me more. Tell me how, or tell me why you do these things, or help me understand, right?
Mhm.
Because I think we all know that every story has multiple lenses, ways to look at
Yes.
it. Everybody comes with different backgrounds, different backstories of how we grew up, how we saw things modeled for us. And once we start understanding why people do things a certain way, it gives us a little more empathy, a little more understanding of,
Mm,
okay, you don't do it just to spite me, or you don't do it because you
yeah.
don't care, or, all these things, but it helps you come to a more, okay, well, I do things this way because of this. How can we
Yeah.
find a good solution that works for both of us? I think of dishes. I need to come up with a better one, but this is always the one that comes top of mind of things that were my pet peeve of dishes in the sink. And my husband does things a very different way. And he works from home a lot. And so he does cooking when I'm in the office and things like that. And we finally had to talk because I was after dinner, like putting things away because I was like, he was supposed to do it. And da, 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 that's what I'm thinking in my head. But it just takes a lot for him to cook.
Mm,
And he just wants to just veg after, come back to it later when everybody else is out of the kitchen.
yeah.
Whereas I just want to get it done so I can go relax, and I'm banging the dishes into the dishwasher. And he's like, I'll do it. I'll do it. And once I figured out, okay, he is really going to come back and do it,
Yeah.
it's not going to be on me later, or, just going to be left out. And I asked him, I delegated this and I said, you are in charge of dinner today. I have to let it go, and I
Yeah.
have to let him do it his way and not micromanage the ways in which he do it, what he makes, all these things. So once I figured out and we could talk about, okay, why does it always get left there? You know, what's your
Yeah.
reasoning? What's your plan? And then I tell him, well, it kind of drives me a little crazy. So, okay, I'm going to have to just leave the room. And yeah, all these things, we figured it out. I know a lot of people do, like, one person cooks, the other person cleans, and that just doesn't work for us because I like to clean as I cook and he does not.
Yeah.
We have agreed that this is what works for us. But if we had tried what people said, oh, you should try this thing, it just didn't work for us. We had to figure
I
it out.
love having the conversation and being truly curious. It can't be like, well, why do you do it this way? It needs to be more like, well, I'm curious. How did you start doing it this way? And what's the rationale behind it? And you end up, I think you're right, kind of getting to the heart of what their beliefs are and stuff. And I think it can be helpful with stepkids too. I mean, we have a lot of stepmoms where, like, if there's a high conflict situation with mom, the kid will come over to their custody time and say, well, mom says you're a horrible person, or mom says you're
Mm.
this.
Yeah.
And I think that taking an approach of curiosity can really defuse a lot of that and kind of say, huh, well, that's interesting. What do you think? Or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If a
Yeah.
kid comes over with some blanket statement that they didn't come up with, like all cats are bad. Well, why would you say that? What do you think makes them bad? And just really being curious about their views and stuff. I think that that's such a powerful approach to take when you can do that and take the emotion out of it.
And that's such a powerful thing to be able to do in any relationship, as you're pointing out, right? Because it's also at work, it's wherever we are in
Mhm.
relation to people, we are all different. And
Yeah,
we need to be able to give people the benefit of the doubt of, they're not coming at it to come get me,
yeah,
What do I need to learn about this person, what they're thinking, what happened? Because we can all make up things in our mind of, I'm taking it personal, and
yep,
it's most of the time not personal.
yeah, that's so true, it's so true, and assuming positive intent is a huge
Mhm.
one, assume that the other person's coming from a good place, and then you can just be curious.
Yeah. Yeah. And earlier you said the way you say it, right? It's absolutely true because it could be the same words of, okay, tell why do you do it that way? But you could say, well, why do you do it that way? Versus,
Yeah,
okay, tell
exactly.
me why, it is
Yeah.
huge. It is huge. Yeah.
Totally. This has been such a great discussion, and I love talking about curiosity. I love all the stuff that you do. And for y'all listening, Amy's going to be speaking at our Stepmom Summit in September. So we'll put links below where you can get on the wait list. But it is going to be a really great discussion around multicultural step families. And we didn't even touch on that in this discussion. We're saving that for the summit. It's going to be great. But Amy, tell everybody where they can find you. And you have a summit coming up too. So tell us about that. And we'll put all of your links in the show notes also.
Yes. So speaking of multicultural, if you want some of these, my background is Japanese. And so I have this Japanese American Life is the YouTube channel you can find me at. Really, the one-stop shop is wholewellnessmamas.com though. So if you want to find me in all the places, wholewellnessmamas.com, Whole Wellness Mamas on Instagram. And if you are a book lover of all genres, Amy Ends Reads is my YouTube channel for books, all things talking there. And like Cameron said, I am having my own summit as well. So if you want to waitlist yourself for that, we're talking all things whole wellness mamas in all the aspects of our life. So you're invited to
I'm going
all
to
of
go
it.
subscribe to your reading YouTube channel. I'm a big reader, so that's right up my
Yay!
alley.
Tons of author, narrator interviews, like book reviews, all of that.
I love
Yeah,
it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amy. This was so much fun, and I can't wait to talk to you at the summit.
I'm so excited. Thanks for having me, Cameron.